Arnold Brackman, he hated radio people. And so I was what, a sophomore, I was doing college radio, and I was also doing local radio. He didn't like radio or TV people. He was the former, he's an author, he's passed away. He was the former bureau chief for the New York Times in Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War. The end of the Korean War, the beginning of the Vietnam War. He hated radio people. But, you know, in his class, we did everything, and then he realized, oh, he's not that bad. You know, it's like, he always thought radio people were elbowing to get the story and trying to beat people up. No. We're trying to get the story just like anybody else. It's, you know, asking the right questions, getting the right headlines. We had an exercise. We had to listen to President Carter's speech one night. I think it was State of the Union. And the next day, we had to come back. Okay, what did the president say? What's the headline? We had to write the headlines. I'm the only student that got it. Fish or cut bait was what the president said about our budget, you know, to Congress. You got to fish or cut bait. See these stupid things that stick in your head. You know? But these things happen, you know. Arnold Brackman wrote a book, very famous, Tutankhamun. What a great guy. Cancer caught him too. Great family. He would host. Does Professor Howard host you guys at his house?
Not yet.
Oh, he would. Yeah, Arnie Brackman did that. You know, come to the house. But you know, great time, great experience. Any other questions? Observations? Anything? Salary. Let me talk about money. Don't chase the money. Just chase the dream and do it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else. The money may be there, money may not be there, but you want to have a reason to get up in the morning and do something. Every day, it still doesn't feel like work to me, and that's really what you want to go. You know, don't make it feel like work. You know, you're watching the clock. Nah, that's not a way to live. That's not a way to enjoy what you want to do for a career. Find something you want to do and enjoy it.
Kevin, I got a couple questions.
Sure.
Can you tell me about live stand-up news versus tape news?
Oh yeah. So live. So for today's story, obviously I wasn't live at 6:20. So they say, okay, you're going to be self-contained because they knew I had to be here. And I didn't want to be live in South Windsor. I didn't want to be live in West Hartford or anywhere else. So they said, okay, you're self-contained. We want a SOT tease. SOT is S-O-T, sound on tape. We want a SOT tease from you, which means, I have to do something like in a shoe store, I did a SOT tease. But don't give it away. A tease is a tease. Try and come up with a tease where you talk for 5 or 6 seconds without giving the story away. Too many times, I give the story away in the tease. Coming up, we'll show you, this balloon crashing in flames. It's like, no, you don't want to give it away because, well, you already told me what's going to happen. So you have to tease something. My photographer, Al, is always on my case about that. He goes, Hogan, tease it. No, don't tell me, tease it. And then the other thing we have to do on tape, we have to do a stand-up. It could be a stand-up, me introducing the story to tape, on tape, and then doing a close, which closing out the story. You kind of end the story, maybe give the viewer a reason to, you want more information, and provide them links on your website or your app. Now that's a typical close you might do now. Or you could do a bridge in a story. You could do all three. They're called stand-ups. So you could do a stand-up bridge, which I did today. It's a bridge from one segment of a story into another segment of the story. So I bridged from a shoe store into the sports store, the Played Again Sports. of it. And then live, I didn't bring my IFB. An IFB is an earpiece that we wear, and we plug it into our phones, and this is what I do. I go to the app. We have a special app where I can just call up. Yep. Guess that don't want to work today. This is our on-air broadcast. This is a certain. This is my backpack that I'm plugged into now. So I put my earpiece in here, and I run it up, and I'm listening. So on this channel, I'll hear program audio, and I'll also hear a director or a producer talking in my ear. And boy, is that disconcerting. You're trying to say something and they're talking, wrap it up, you got 5 seconds, 4, 3, and you're trying to say something eloquent, but it's coming out blah, 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 because you can't take too much information. Okay, that's enough. You have 2 people talking in your ear at the same time, and you're trying to say something. Practice that. That's tough. But going live, everything is written, so I will write a story for today's story. I write what the anchor reads, that you see the anchor introducing a story. I write what they say. And then I write, obviously, what I'm going to say if I'm live. Then the story is pre-edited. So we go around all day, run around, get interviews, get B-roll, video elements that will support the story. And then I write a story. I send it on my iPad. I send it to my producer. Producer approves or makes suggestions, changes, whatever they want. Then I voice track the elements, the voice-over, VO elements of that story to segue with the interviews. And that's a story, or what we call a package. And then I write something for the tag at the end of the story, so when the story ends, I come out and say something to close the story and back to you. So that's what it consists of, every day.
Do your editors tell you, give me 2 minutes on this, give me a minute and a half?
Today said you have 2 minute max on the story. It turned out to be 1:19, which is fine. The shorter for them, the better, because they can use that time. Maybe you get 2 or 3 of these people. Oh, I got another 1.5 minutes to fill. I can get another 2 stories in, but everything is figured out. There's a science to it. If you ever notice you switch channels, hey, everybody's got weather at the same time. Everybody's got sports at the same time, or they're all in a commercial at the same time, because we have limits as to what we can absorb in the course of a newscast. The A block is the first probably 8 stories in the newscast. Probably lasts about 6 to 7 minutes long. Go to a commercial break, and you tease what's coming up. Then you go to B block, and then that's like second tier of important stories. Then you have a feature. Obviously you do weather. God forbid you don't do weather 3 or 4 times. Then you get to full weather, sports, and maybe a feature, and you're done. That's a half-hour newscast. There is a science to exactly what type of stories we need to put in. Obviously, breaking news and weather are paramount in any newsroom, TV newsroom. Radio, I don't know anymore, because there are not too many radio stations with local news departments. Other questions? Yes?
Do you do live anytime that isn't breaking news or developing?
Oh, yeah. We did that. We were working on a feature 3 weeks ago. And the if anybody tells you differently, the mobile newsroom does not have a bathroom. So I know where all the cleanest and lousiest bathrooms in Eastern Connecticut are. So I was using a bathroom on West Main Street in Norwich, and I come out and the guy says, "You know there's a fire?" So and I said, "Oh yeah, there's the smoke." So, and it was 10 of 6. We were done for the day. We fed what we had to do, but then your news gut says you gotta go. So I call the newsroom saying, "All right, we got a breaking story, fire." So we went up and around. We're about from here to the window to the house. We went to the back side, got some information, and we were feeding that, and we're doing that live. No, that was not planned. It just, you front it live, and you're listening to what they want you to do or say, and like, all right, we're just going to take live video, and do a play-by-play of what's going on, and that's it. When you do something live, it's not written down. The best thing to do is just tell the story of what you see. The road's closed off. What's the address, wherever you are? You give the address out. We're in this side of the city or whatever town. You could see, we have fire departments from multiple agencies here. They've got the ladder truck or the platform up. There are people standing outside with blankets over, who probably safely escaped. Going in, you see them rushing in with hoses. Now they're going in. Just whatever you see, you tell, because that's what's happening. I mean, it may not be verified, but it's what you're witnessing and seeing. People go, "How do you do it?" I don't know. You just do it. You just talk about it. If I shut the lights off in the room, then you go, "What happened?" "Well, the lights went out." Other questions? Lee, more?
Yeah, you mentioned the bungee jumping
Yes.
incident where you crazily did the bungee jump. I teach a lot of the students here, that as a print journalist, you kind of stay out of the limelight. You kind of almost pretend like you're a ghost, and
Right.
it's what everybody else tells you that's the story.
In TV, they want reporter involvement.
Mm-hmm.
Why? They think it's going to bring the story closer to the viewer. Like you'll understand it better. Like, no, I think people get it. But you've got the image of jumping, or my experience of it happening. Yeah, you'll get a big earful of that. But these things happen. Or when you try to do things visually for TV. Doing a story about, this is after, say, several people were hit by trains. They're walking on tracks. There was a family in Fairfield. 4 people got hit by a train because they were walking on the tracks. Coming from a railroad family, you cannot hear a train. If I'm sitting on the tracks or walking, and there's a train coming, you can't hear it. So, to demonstrate that, my photographer was on one platform in Old Saybrook. That would be like being down in London. Being on one platform and being across the tracks on the other. And have a high-speed Amtrak train come through, non-stop. They're doing about 70 miles an hour. So, the demonstration of the story was, I'm back here, and I'm like, the one thing that you cannot depend on is hearing the sound of a train like this. And I timed it, so when I said that, like this, the train passed between myself and the photographer, and the videographer. So, because it demonstrates that you didn't hear it coming. And all of a sudden, bam, it's there at that speed. And that's, how else do you demonstrate it? You're not going to stand in front of the train, but all of a sudden seeing it and hearing it, I'm like, oh my God, that's true. You can't.
That's where the horns are always going while they're.
Yeah.
You can hear the one from Newark. You can hear it on campus when it goes through here. Yeah.
My grandfather was an engineer on the New York, New Haven, and Hartford from 1918 to 1968. I watched him come off the platform in 68 New Haven. He ran steam between New Haven and Boston. He would, back in the 40s, run steam at 100 miles an hour. That's unheard of in Rhode Island, where it was straight, not in Connecticut. My uncle, John, his son, was an engineer. I rode with him into New York one day in the engine. It was a very fine, famous type of engine, a GG1. You remember that? It was a two-headed engine.